Hello everyone, welcome to tonight's Mentorfish August Keynote. My name is Keith Kochner. I'm the founder and creator of Mentorfish.com. We are a leadership and professional development training community, and we have a wonderful training for you this evening. And this is just a small sample of the things that we do here in our community to reach out and serve people just like you. If you're a member, I want to welcome you. You've been here before. You know the value of these monthly keynotes that we do. If you're a guest of a member, I'm excited to have you here this evening as well because we have a wonderful training and maybe we're introducing ourselves to you for the very first time. And so I want to welcome you. At any time before, I won't say during, but before, which obviously is not possible now because we've started, and then or after the interview, if you want more information on what we do and who I am, I want to invite you to go to mentorfish.com and check out what it is that we do. We love serving people with leadership and professional development training. This is what I'm very proud of, we've been working many, many years to be able to say this, we are the most affordable resource for leadership and professional development training on the face of the planet right now. And so I got one quick announcement that I want to make, and then we're going to jump right into tonight's interview with our special guest, Cecilia Stoll. I know many of you are excited to have her here with us in the community. One quick announcement, I want to invite anybody who's watching right now, or any guest or friends of anybody that may be watching right now, to our open house 2-day exchange event coming up in September. On September 12th and 13th, it's a 2-day event. It's a Thursday and a Friday. We're hosting here at our beautiful Greatness Center right outside of our studios here in Tulsa, Oklahoma, our 2-day exchange event. Some of you have been to this event before, and I'm sure many of you have heard about it. And so I want to invite you. This is a free event. We're open housing it. So if you're in Mentorfish, obviously you can attend at zero cost, but we're opening it to even guests and friends of members to join us at this 2-day exchange event. If you'd like to come to that event, it's free of charge. Just to give you a little price comparison, this event, we used to charge between $500 and $1,000 per person to be in. And now we're making it available as an open house event. So come out and join us on September 12th and 13th. You can enroll for that event on mentorfish.com or in the community at mentorfish.com if you're already a member. So mark that down on your calendar as you're sitting here listening to us tonight. Think, man, this is really great training tonight. How can I get some more of this? Well, that would be a great place for you to do it on our 2-day exchange event in September. So having said that, I want to introduce Cecilia Stoll to you this evening. We have a wonderful training for you. It's just about an hour long. It's absolutely content packed, so you don't want to miss a single piece of it. So I want to invite you, please get a notebook, get a pen, and get ready to take some phenomenal notes. I'm so excited about this keynote tonight. I'm not going to take any more time. Let's jump right now into this interview with myself and Cecilia Stoll. All right, well, welcome, Cecilia. I'm so excited to have you here today. For those of you that don't know, of course, this is Cecilia Stoll, and she's not only a good friend of mine, but a great professional relationship of mine as well. And I'm glad to have you here this month as our featured keynote because I know you know this, and I know you're very, very humble, but you're here because you are one of the leading businesswomen, and I believe the entire world, and even more specifically in the direct sales and network marketing industry. So I know you have success principles that our members in the community need to hear.
Well, Keith, it's an honor to be here with you. You have been so influential in my business, in my life. So fun to have a relationship with you and Michelle, and Marvin and I adore your family, and you have blessed my business in so many ways through Mentorfish and through all the principles that you teach. And so I'm sure that some of the things that I'm going to be sharing are things that you share with everyone, but it really is, it's an honor to be here with you. So thank you for having me.
You're very, very welcome. I'm excited because anytime I have somebody that's at your level of expertise and success, I get excited too because as you know me well enough to know, and I know the members know me, but if you're a guest tonight, maybe you don't know, I still learn. So when I do interviews like this, I get to learn. So Cecilia, if you see me writing, some people get nervous when I write. Don't get nervous when I write. I'm just taking notes because the content's so good. And I'm going to invite everybody that's watching tonight, if you don't have a pen and paper, this is your chance. Get a pen, get a piece of paper, and be able to have something to write down because I know Cecilia's going to throw out things that are both direct and maybe even indirectly very, very valuable. And you're going to want to have something you can write them down so you can remember them. So Cecilia, I told you we were just going to have a conversation just like when we all get together and we go to a basketball game and we get to have some fun together. And I got to say thanks. Her family takes Michelle and I to the basketball game there for the Oklahoma City Thunder. And they always have way better seats than any of the seats I've ever had when I've gone to the game.
So, go Thunder, go Thunder.
Yeah, it's always fun. So I said, we're just going to have a conversation like when we're all four hanging out. and just create value together. So what I thought, if it was okay with you, I want to go back, kind of, if you will, to the very beginning. I want the people that don't know you. I know there's a lot of people in our community that know you, but this will be perpetuated into the future quite for a long period of time as well. So there'll be many people that don't know you. So if you don't mind, let's back up and kind of start from the beginning. Where did you get your start? Where did you come from? And really, I know we could talk hours on this, but you know what I mean. How did you get from where you were to where you are today at such a high pinnacle of success?
Well, first, I need to tell you that I had no idea that I would end up here. I was born and raised in Brazil, and I actually came here to the United States to go to school. And I ended up going to college here, and I grew up, very humble means. And so I actually put myself through college and studied, got a degree in psychology, and through college, I really struggled financially. I actually went 5 years without seeing my family in Brazil because I couldn't afford a
Wow.
plane ticket to go back. And I remember during those years thinking, boy, it would be so great to be able to have some extra money so I could fly home whenever I wanted. And after college, I was going to graduate school and I met my husband and we got married, and we were now two people that are broke. And even my parents couldn't come to our wedding because we didn't have money to fly them here and
Wow.
they didn't have money to fly here. And so once again, that thought came, wouldn't it be so great to have extra money so I could fly home and see my family whenever I wanted? And that thought of, I'm tired of being broke was always on my mind. It seems that we don't really think about money unless we don't have it, right? I mean, that's when we think about it the most, is
Exactly.
when we're struggling. And my husband and I were really struggling financially. We were actually struggling to the point where one month I was on the phone with my mom a lot to Brazil, and we got a phone bill for $200, and we could not afford to pay that phone bill. I know that sounds so simple to so many people, like a lot of people, $200,
Sure.
it's nothing. But to us, it was a lot. And I remember being devastated that we had this bill that we could not pay. And I told one friend, and I asked that friend just to pray for God to provide a way for us to be able to pay that bill. And a couple of days later, we actually got a call from our church secretary asking me to stop by the office because she had an envelope for me to pick up. And I went by,
Really?
picked up the envelope, and I got to my car, my little blue Ford Escort. And I opened the envelope, and there was $200 cash in that envelope and no
Wow.
note attached to it. And that day actually totally changed me because many things crossed my mind when I saw that money. The first thing I thought about was I was grateful because I thought I prayed for provision and God answered my prayers. But actually, that was the second thing that I thought. The first thing that I thought was I was embarrassed because I thought, oh my gosh, people know that we're broke. And maybe they collected this money. Maybe they had a meeting at our church, like save the
Right.
Stolls. Let's everybody give $1 and help them. And but really, an overwhelming thought that I had was, who did this? Who knows of a need? And they anonymously give the
Wow.
money and they don't put their name on it to be thanked and to be recognized. And I remember that day thinking, if I ever have extra, I want to be that $200 person. And that thought just really stayed with me. So I never had a desire to have a lot of money. I just wanted to be able to have choices in my life. And not very long after that, a dear friend of mine shared some samples of our products with me for me to try. And I fell in love with the products and started recommending them to all of my friends. And but in my mind, I always thought that network marketing, direct selling was for pushy people, for salespeople. And I never considered myself one of those people. I did not want to be one of those people that my friends would see me coming and they would cross the street and go the other way and not want to talk to me. And so it took me a while to truly understand that to be successful in this kind of business, you just need to believe in the products that you're recommending. You need to be in love with those products, share with other people. And it's really about sharing and not selling. And once I understood that and saw that I was already doing it, because I was already sharing how much I love these products with all my friends, and my friends were buying from the consultant that I bought the products from, I decided, I have been praying for a way for us to have extra money. No other door has opened for us right now. Even though I had a psychology degree, I was actually working as an administrative assistant. And so that, I was not even in my field. My husband and I were living paycheck to paycheck, and there was no other option. And so I didn't know that this business would work for me, but I did know that what I was doing was not going to work, that we were not going to be able to keep going. If we looked 5 years down the road, it looked bleak. I saw myself sitting at the same desk, not seeing my family, struggling financially. And so I decided, I don't know if this is going to work, but it's the only door that has opened for me. So I got to jump into this with both feet. And I'm going to do whatever I can.
Let me ask you a question about that, because I love that period of time, because so many people, when you interview them, or I've talked to very successful people, and you've probably seen other people do interviews like this too, they always talk about what the success feels like once it's happened. But what I love, what you're talking about right now, is it's like the inception of where it kind of began for you when you made that transition out of the job into your own business, whether it be your own business in direct sales or network marketing. Because I know there's a lot of people in our community and in the economy today, they're looking for something different, or they're looking for something that will be fulfilling to them. And you had to go through that transition process. So let me ask you a question, if you don't mind, kind of on the fly here. How much fear was there when you decided to step into your own direction and your own ambition? How much fear was there right in the initial part of that? Because I know for me, I've wrestled with that in my life. And so would you mind just spending obviously you passed that season, so you did something. What did the fear feel like at the very, very beginning? And then what is it that you did maybe to help yourself survive that season of fear?
Well, I was petrified. I have always, my whole life, been afraid of failure. And I think that if you are a human being, most people have a certain level of fear of failure. Sure. And mine was huge. I did not have a lot of confidence in myself. I did not have a lot of big success in my company. My company was pretty new, and I didn't know anybody that had reached the top position, so I didn't even know if that was possible. And so I was really afraid, but I think I was more afraid to stay where I was in my life than I was to take this risk, because I was afraid of looking back and wondering what I could have done with it if I had not tried it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
And so the fear of what I was doing and staying behind that desk for the rest of my life, not seeing my family, with no choices, that fear was so great that the fear of jumping into this new business kind of, even though it was huge, it was the smaller of the two.
Huh. That's very interesting. So you almost took like a snapshot of where you were, and you perpetuated that out 10, 20, and 30 years, and you said, am I willing to commit to this snapshot, knowing what it would look like and knowing what it wouldn't look like 30 years from now? And your answer was no. That's a very interesting way you put that, because I don't know that I've ever heard anybody quite say it like that. Because sometimes people always go, well, look at where you're going, look at where you're going to have, and look at what could be. But like you said, in your case, which I think is very profound, you didn't even know for sure what it would look like, but yet you knew what it looked like currently. You did not want it to look like 30 years from now.
It was more like running from where I was, knowing this is not the future I want for myself, and there's only one other door that's open for me right now. And I had to take that chance.
Huh. So let me ask you this then.
This was the door.
If fear, you saw that fear, and then you jumped into the unknown, this word has popped into my mind. I'm sure it's popping in yours too, or I know you've used it in your career. So did faith, how much faith did you have to jump in? Because it almost sounds like to me, even though it was the unknown, your faith outweighed your fear and it empowered you to jump. How important is faith been to you was to you then in that transition period? How still important is faith to you today in your business?
Oh, it's huge, Keith. And there's a song that I love, and it says that faith is stepping out onto nothing and landing on something. And I feel like when I jumped into this business, that's exactly what I did. I stepped out onto nothing and I landed on something
I
huge.
like that.
And I had to trust that God had a plan for my life. And I had prayed for a door to open. And it might not have looked like I thought it was going to look like, because in my head, I thought maybe it's a promotion or a better job or something like that. It didn't look like I thought it was going to look like, but it still was a door that God had opened for me. And it did take faith to step in and believe that he was going to make everything work out. And so, what a something I landed on.
That's phenomenal. So I'm starring that right now and underlining it as one of the number one principles even of this interview. Faith is stepping out onto nothing to land on something, and knowing that you will land on something. Because I think even in my early career, I can remember doing that same thing. And I've talked to people that are at your level of success now many, many times, and that is a consistent theme where they've got to step out before they know what it's going to look like. I remember my original mentor, Bob Harrison, he said, Keith, some people wait for the entire vision to get clear before they step. Well, sometimes things become clearer as you move. Things come into focus as you move forward. And that's kind of what I hear you saying the same thing. So that is a very powerful principle there. So once you did that, let's continue on here, because I know you went from there to even more. So what did your rise to, and I know you're very humble, and I know a lot of people know you about it. So when I say famous and super successful, I'm not trying to stroke your ego. I'm just being honest about what you've accomplished in your business. So how did you go from the very beginning to where you are right now in your business, and what did that look like? What did that climb look like, if you will, in your career?
One of the things that I've always tried to do is work on myself and work on me and be the best version of myself that I possibly could be. And I also really believe in taking little steps. And I know you teach that a lot, in taking little steps and looking at the next step. And so for me in my business, when I started my business, I always looked at what is the next level that I want to get to. Because a lot of times I think that when people look at the very top level, and not that it's not great to have awesome goals, I really believe in setting goals and in setting awesome goals. But sometimes when you're too fixed on the very big thing, the very top thing that you could possibly get, you forget that you are being successful along the way. And you are dissatisfied to a point where you end up giving up. I think sometimes we can, I've heard it said that sometimes we overestimate what can be done in a year, and we underestimate what can be done in 5 in this business. And I think I think what I did was I started working on me and trying to do my very best every day, just showing up for business every day, and focused on that very next level. And because at that time, I didn't even know if I had it in me, if I was capable of achieving the top position in this company. All I could fix my eyes on was maybe the next level. Maybe I can get to the next level. And I'm going to do my very best every day so I can get to that next level. And so I broke it down into little steps, and I felt successful. I think sometimes people think that success is achieving the top level in your company or having that top position, but I really equate success with influence and being able to be a difference maker in people's lives. My husband's dad was a high school janitor with a high school education. And when he passed away a few years ago, my husband's Facebook page was inundated with messages from people that had been students at that high school who talked about the difference that his dad made in their lives every day because of the way he spoke life into them and believed in them. And so I think sometimes we only look at that very big picture, and we forget to look at ourselves as we're moving along going, I am doing this. I am on the right path. And I felt like every time I reached a new level or achieved a challenge for my company, I felt successful. And I've tried to teach my team that, to feel successful along the way. Because, somebody asked me one time, what was your greatest achievement in this company? And I couldn't really think of something. And what I really thought about was, I feel like my greatest achievement was every time that the discouragement got so great that I found myself in that pit of discouragement.
Yeah.
And then I climbed out of the pit. I feel like that's a great achievement. Every time you make a decision not to stay in the pit, but to climb out of the pit and say, I'm going to do this anyway. I'm going to try again. I'm going to perfect this. I'm going to keep doing this until it works. And I think in my head, I just had this commitment that this is the door that was opened for me. This is the path that I've chosen. I'm going to be the best I can be. I don't have to be better than anybody else, but I can be better than I was last year. I'm going to be the best version of myself in this business. And I'm going to do it until it works. I didn't give myself a deadline saying, well, I'm going to give myself 12 months. And if I'm not at this level by 12 months, then that means it's not meant to be. Because I don't think it works like that. Because sometimes I don't think we get success because we are not who we need to be to handle that success. And so I just took it one step at a time and believed that by staying on the path, I was successful.
You've said so much. I'm talking to my producer right now. I said, Jeremy, we may have to slow this thing down, and we may have to just replay that one section. Right, Cecilia, you just said so much so quickly in that little session. We have to play that in slow motion, make sure everybody grabbed it. I wrote a bunch of notes here, and one of the things that stuck out to me the most was you just said at the very end here too. You were working on you to be the best you could be. And you refuse to compare yourself to somebody else's path or somebody else's race. And I've noticed that when I mentor people, and I've been doing this for 16 years and a long time as well, that one of the biggest mistakes that we can make, one of the biggest mistakes I've made in my career, is forgetting not to compare myself with somebody else, but to be, like what you said, the best me that I can be. And then you said about breaking down these bigger goals into smaller accomplishments and successes and celebrations. I think that's huge, because that's something that I forget to do, because I have, you get your eye on the prize, but you got to know where the prize is at. But like you said, if you don't have the little stepping stones between there, you're going to measure your entire significance or value on whether you get that prize when you think you should get it, not on all the things that you could be doing to get it along the way. And I've never heard anybody say what you just said about getting out of a pit as something that was a successful thing. But what you said, you have to, because if you don't get out of the pit, you're going to get stuck.
That's right.
Most people make the pit wrong, or they make feeling discouraged bad, and they hide, and then they run away from business or from life. And I can obviously see if that's something you've used. That's got to be a huge reason why you're at where you're at, because you said, hey, you know what? I'm in the pit. I'm not going to make it about being in the pit. I'm going to make it about getting out of the pit. And as long as I keep on getting out of the pit, it's like you're high-fiving yourself every time you got out of the pit. Like, you know what? I was in the pit, but I didn't stay there again. And
Because
every day we come back.
Right, because here's the tragedy, is when you muster the courage and the strength to climb out of the pit, you are a better version of yourself already. So the next person that you sponsor in this business is getting a better upline. So if you move away, if you quit your business because you got in a pit, the tragedy is that you've given up the opportunity to sponsor better quality people, to be a better leader, to do better in your business. And so I really encourage people, whenever you find yourself in a pit, in a big struggle, you have to muster the courage and the strength to climb out of the pit. And when you make a decision to say, I'm doing this again, you can know in your head, I'm already better. I'm already better because I learned a lesson. I got in the pit and I had the strength to get out of the pit. And not very many people can do what I just did. So the next person that I sponsor will get a better leader than the person that got sponsored 2 months ago.
I like that.
Sorry to that person,
they
right?
give the new edition. It's kind of like we're in Mentorfish 3.0 now. And so every time you come out of a pit, the next people you're going to get is going to get to Cecilia 0.54 or 0.58. Every pit you get out, I'm probably 0.1180 or something, But it's like, I love that. Every time you get out, because it gives you, I'm writing it down because it gives me the courage. It'll give people who are listening tonight the courage to say, hey, when I come out of the pit, I didn't just get out of the pit. When I get out of the pit, it's the launch of the new version of me. And now whoever I meet from here on out is getting at least that 0.1% 10% better of who I am, and I can take that with me forward. Oh, that's powerful. That's powerful. And how did you pass that content, that ability to get out of the pit, or how would you pass it on tonight, even as I'm asking you to people that are listening, how did you train other people to do the same thing you did?
I truly believe that that's a choice. I always say that you don't need confidence to be successful, you need courage. Because I had no confidence when I started my business. There were many times along my business, even at the top of my company, there were many times when I didn't feel confident about certain decisions that I was making, but I had to have courage. Courage is a choice. You can choose to have courage. And the Bible says that we are to take courage. So I look at it as I have to take it and make it mine. And it's not something that's bestowed upon me. I take it and I make a decision to be courageous. And so that is something that I really encourage people to find in themselves, find the courage to do it again, find the courage to start over, find the courage to move on. And it really isn't ever starting over, because if you find yourself in a pit or in a struggle and you push through it, it's just really continuing on the journey. It's choosing to continue on the journey no matter what. And so I think it really boils down to a choice. And I say all the time that belief is a decision. We choose to believe something. It's not just something that, oh, I don't feel belief. We make a decision to believe something or not believe something. And, you talk a lot about choosing to believe the stories that we tell ourselves that benefit us and not the stories that are going to undermine us. And so belief is a decision. And once you make that decision, belief has a sound. And there are so many people who are brand new in this business, and they can go sponsor a lot of people and find so much success in the beginning because they're filled with belief. They don't have confidence. They don't know a lot. And then a lot of times along the way, after hearing no's and finding discouragements, and in our industry, people quit this business all the time. So then the sponsors start to think, what am I doing wrong? And what happens is we start to question it, and our belief goes down. And when we speak, nobody hears it in our voice anymore. So then they don't join our business or they quit. And then we start creating the results that we don't want because of our choice to not believe. Wow. And not have the courage to move on.
So how did you said something very powerful, because this is across the board to all businesses or entrepreneurship and in life in general, this fear of rejection. I mean, obviously, most people that know you, they're listening, think, how Cecilia Stoll was rejected, or could be rejected. How did you get over that rejection? Because people tell me no all the time. It's not every person I talk to about Mentorfish that they enroll in Mentorfish and see the value of what we're doing, even though it's so easily seen by me and so important to me, and I'm so passionate about it. And I face that same thing. So how did you get over that rejection when you experienced it in life?
Well, rejection as human beings, it always hurts. And I've been in my business for 22 years, and my husband has two sisters who are not in my business. They decided not to do this business, and, the results are visible. But I had to learn that, first of all, people have choices. I had to change the story that I told myself, I think is the best way to explain how I decided to move through the rejection, because in the beginning I took it very personally. Oh, yeah. And it really hurt me, and it discouraged me, and it made me really afraid to pick up the phone and call the next person or try the next thing. I questioned whether it was me, and I had to decide that a lot of times no means not now, maybe later, or I just don't know enough. And when I learn more, I may decide to do this business or not do this business. And a lot of times it really means that people don't believe that they can do it. Sure. And so a lot of times rejection really is about them and not me. And in this industry, I think realizing that this is a sorting business and not a convincing business, And really your job is to tell the story, share your product, share your opportunity, share your service, whatever that might be, and know that not every single person needs to participate in your business for you to be successful. You just need to find a few, and then those few will find a few, and release people, love them where they are, and learn that it's really not about you. And the minute you take the focus off of yourself, I think it's easier to move forward once you've been rejected.
I like that, because rejection, when you don't make rejection about yourself, you make it about them, not in a judgmental way, but just saying, hey, well, maybe they
Right.
don't know enough, or maybe they don't think they could be successful in it. You know, in human nature, most people are never going to go, well, hey, I'm not going to do it because I don't think I'm going to be great enough at it because I'm too scared. They're going to make it about you, or they're going to make it about a product, or they're going to make it about something else other than themselves. But if, as a leader, like you just said, if we can remember that rejection is about them, not in a negative way, it's just a different story.
Right.
It's about them for maybe their lack of knowledge or awareness or capability in their own mind, at least. It totally frees us, totally takes us out of the equation. I like that. I'm going to write that down, because, you know, I think, as you said, all human beings at any level still interact and will experience rejection. And I'm writing that down in my notes too, because, you know, hey, when somebody isn't as excited about Mentorfish as I am, I don't have to make that about me or about Mentorfish. I can make that about them and continue on with my passion. I like that. Well, let me ask you this then. A couple more questions on my list, because I have a couple questions here I want to run through with you that I've been walking through the interview, because I wanted to make sure I knew I'd get excited and start conversating with you, but I wanted to make sure I got a couple key points here as well, because I want to make sure that I get as much from you as I can in the next few moments that we have together still. What would you say? I mean, I know you've given us a lot of them here in the context of your story, but what are some, one, maybe two, what are some of the most important principles that you share in your business to your team and to your clients that is absolutely mandatory, like non-negotiable, to be successful?
Well, it's hard to narrow it down to a couple, because I think that owning your own business is so complex, and there are different principles that apply to different stages of your business. But I think that one big principle is commitment. I mean, it's a huge value that if you are an entrepreneur, if you want to own your own business and pursue success in any area in your life, it's commitment. It's a no matter what type of commitment, and it's, you know, not necessarily giving you're giving yourself that deadline. And this is, I know I've said this before, but I think that so many people fall in this trap where in their minds they think, by this date I should be at this level, or my business should be this big, and if it's not, that means it's not meant to be. I never looked at my business that way. I became committed to making it work until, just until, and to just keep going until it happened. And so, you know, that's one principle. Obviously, another one, and I think that's a huge thing that you teach through Mentorfish, and I really encourage people to stay plugged in to all of the things that you have going on with Mentorfish. It's keep bettering yourself, because you've never arrived. And I think it's very dangerous for a leader to ever get to a place where he or she feels that they've arrived and that, you know, they don't have anything else to learn, no other area to grow, because we have to continue to change and improve ourselves, and sometimes even reinvent ourselves. So that's another important thing. And I think that when you work with a lot of people, this now comes down to the relationship part of this business, because I do see in my industry so many people's businesses sometimes go sour because there are relationship problems. And one principle that someone taught me once that I feel has been vital in my business, and I've, you know, tried to teach it, especially to my leaders, is and I think this is good in business, in marriage, in as a parent, in
I was
friendships,
just
all
going to say, a lot of what you're
relationships.
saying goes across the board, even outside of business. When I heard you say, hey, I'm not at the top level by when, my mind went to, well, I thought my marriage would look like X by now, or I thought my kids would be doing this by now, or I thought I'd have more money by now. And my mind just opened up to a whole bunch of different areas. So you're tracking along on a lot of things that if we apply what you're saying to a lot of different areas of our life, will help us be successful.
It is just, again, working on yourself and being, for me personally, just every day living my life or doing my best to, and I fail so much at this, doing my very best to glorify God in whatever situation I'm in, whatever my business looks like, whatever my parenting looks like, and not attaching myself so much to the outcome, but to the activity. I teach that a lot. Attach yourself to the activity, not the outcome, because just by doing the activity, you're bettering yourself and becoming better, and the outcome will come someday. And so I think it's really important. And the principle that I was going to say has been so helpful to me, and I really try to teach this, especially to my leaders, is assume good intentions. And that's a very hard thing for us to do, is from people. So because in this ties into what you teach about making up stories in our minds. Because when somebody does something to us, I think as human beings, we naturally assume bad intentions.
Yeah.
If it felt bad to us, we assume it came from a bad place. But assuming good intentions, because to me, I think that is a mistake that I made early on in my business and even in my life, of being mistrusting and just assuming that, if something felt negative to me, that means that person had bad intentions. And I think that can really hurt relationships if we don't give people the benefit of the doubt. And you have been so instrumental in my life and in my business with teaching that concept, maybe not in those words, but that concept of seeing the best in people. And I think that's a really huge thing that all of us need to continually work on, seeing people in their possibility and in who God called them to be, and not necessarily in the actions that they are, in at the moment. Does that make sense?
Absolutely, that's very powerful. We had our annual teen event just a couple weeks ago, and we were sitting there talking about people, and I mentioned something like you just said, a little bit different languaging, but it was true for both ourselves and for other people. I tell the young adults, I say, don't see yourself as you are today. See the increased version of who you are.
Oh, I love that.
And what I just heard you say is apply the same thing to other people. Don't see people don't get stuck staring at them where they're at. Give them the benefit of the doubt and picture them as their increased version of themselves outside of that moment, and always lean to the benefit of the doubt and look for the good in people. And not only for other people, but the point was some people do that for other people, but then they don't do it for themselves. So it goes, I think, on both sides. Look for the increased version of who you can be and who they can be and who they are, even irrelevant of the moment, because we all fall short. We all make mistakes. I do, you do, we all do. So it helps me remember that. And so it helps me go where you just said. It helps me steer clear of judgment and helps me steer into compassion for people. And you are a great reminder of that, even as we've talked about this topic over the last several years, that, when we do that, people will do the same thing for us. And so, what do they say? Treat others like you want to be treated. I want people, I do stupid stuff. We've all been friends long enough to know that, hey, I do stupid stuff and other people do stupid things, but you got to see the increased version of Keith and Michelle, not this other, faulted version or whatever it may be, because we're all human.
And the only way that we can actually help people get to their potential is by accepting them where they are. For example, when they join your business, love them where they are. Because sometimes I think in our industry, we expect people to come in guns blazing, going straight to the top, and I'm great, I believe in myself, and they are, they give up everything in their lives to jump into this business, which is not the way you should build this business. I really, truly believe in the concept of balance. And we neglect maybe some of the people who lack confidence, and I was one of those people. And I'm so thankful that my sponsor, she loved me for who I was and not for what I could add to her business. And I think so many times we treat people in this industry according to what they can contribute to our business, and not according to the value that they have as a person and as a human being. And I think when we start seeing people's hearts and seeing people for who they are and speak life into them and believe in them and praise little progress, and not just praise the top achievement and help people feel successful to go, you made 5 calls today or whatever it was, you sold to 3 people today, way to go, because this month you did this, which is more than what you did last month. You are on the right path. Affirm, praise, accept them where they are, because if I had not had that, I probably would not have stayed in this business, because I would have thought, I can't perform to the level they're expecting me to perform. But they let me pick the pace that I wanted to work my business at. And I think that's important for us as leaders, to accept people who want, like you teach, to walk, jog, or run in this business. They're all important. And you never know, someday, maybe your walker could become the top producer in your organization because you believed in them.
Well, what you said was, it's like, I just clicked in my mind when you said this, someday their until is going to take place. Like you said, get committed. I've never heard it said that way either. Get committed to until. Because, I much rather have somebody that's committed to until than somebody who's committed to being at the top in 36 months.
Right.
Because I know statistically and probability what the statistics that are taking place are, and if they're not, they'll probably get out. I'd rather have somebody in for 10 years than have somebody shoot up and be gone in 24 to 36 months. Exactly. And that's I think that's a principle again for life. When I get committed, a big passion of ours is the family unit, helping families, build that foundation underneath who they are, and that they're committed to their family until. Not committed to their family if it looks exactly how they think it should look, not committed to their spouse if their spouse is doing everything they think they should be doing, but they're committed until. And when you're committed until, it gives you the freedom to learn and to grow every day. It's a powerful statement, so I wanted to rephrase that again, because I want to make sure people heard it again, or restate it again rather, because if you get committed until, you are going to achieve the greatness you were designed to achieve. And Cecilia, I know you've been to our greatness center here outside of our studios, and we have examples of people hanging on a wall, Jesus Christ, Steve Jobs, Winston Churchill, Oprah, Michael Phelps, Bill Gates, all these different people. And one of the things I always share about them in a different language, but you just said it so plainly, is that these people never put a timeline on what they were going to do. They just said they're going to do it, and they're going to do it, and they're going to die trying. But there was no wiggle room. They were going to do it. And what you just said was, what I apply to these people is that they were committed until. Plain and simple. Mm-hmm. They didn't care. They weren't stopping. They were committed until. And what a powerful way to be committed to something.
Right. You have to make a decision that this is the door that was opened for you. And now your part, so the door was open, your part now is to do your very best every day. And again, your very best every single day. And I really believe that if you apply, all of you, and you're willing to learn the lessons and to wait for the results and not get in a hurry, not that you shouldn't be committed and have a sense of urgency to be successful, but to be patient, and because sometimes you don't see the results because maybe there's some work that God wants to do in you, some things that God wants to change in you so that you can be ready to handle. If I was given the organization that I have today, when I first joined this business, I would have quit because I wasn't equipped to handle this kind of organization. I always say you could take, you could give Oprah Winfrey the top position in a company, but that doesn't necessarily mean that she would be able to really lead that team and help people be successful in that business, because she could get the top position because she knows so many people, she has so much influence, she's so respected, but at the same time, it's not a position she earned. And so I'm so grateful for the years that it took me to get to where I am, because those years gave me wisdom. And I teach my leaders all the time that you spend in your business give you wisdom, and learn to apply the lessons that you learn while building a business to your family, to your friendships, to your relationships, because you are becoming better, and that should not just stay in your business. You should extrapolate it to every area of your life. And I feel like building this business has made me more committed as a wife, more committed as a friend, more committed as a mom. And I've been able to apply some of these principles. That's why I love owning my own business and I love entrepreneurship, because I think that it takes a special kind of person to stay in it. But if you stay in it, the rewards don't come for that business only. The rewards get poured out into your family, into your relationships, into other areas of your life. And so the blessings are multiplied from the efforts that you put into growing a business. And the rewards are so great and it's so worth it. It's worth every struggle, every pit you have to climb out of. But you have, like you said, like we've been saying, you have to make a decision. I'm committed until, and I'm not quitting until. And the until looks different for everybody, and the timeline looks different for everybody.
And the journey along that timeline is you're learning what it will take to manage what you're earning.
Oh, I love that.
I
Yes.
wrote that down when you said it earlier. You're never going to earn something you've not learned.
I love it.
And if you get something before you've learned it, you will never be able to really be able to keep it because you haven't,
Exactly.
you don't know all the little things that you know now to be able to hold up the organization you have. Even though I know in human nature, we all think, well, hey, if I won $100 million in a lottery, I'd be fine and I would do something different. Well, you and I both know the statistics of what people who win that kind of money. They can't keep it because they didn't earn it, they didn't learn it. You've got to learn it to earn it. And if you just are given it, you won't be able to maintain it.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I've got a funny question for you here. This is what I like. I have some kind of questions I like to ask people when I get in this opportunity.
Uh-oh.
What's some of the worst advice you've ever heard in your career?
Oh boy.
What's some of the? Because you can learn from people what not to do or what to do, and you can also learn from people what not to do. So what's some of the worst advice that somebody gave you that you thought that you just knew was, or maybe you learned that it was, and you found out later it was the worst advice ever? What's some of the worst advice that you can maybe help us avoid in our lives, in our careers?
Boy, that's a tough one. I think that probably I have been told before, well, if it's too hard, then that probably means that God has another plan for your life. I feel like that, and somebody actually told me that, to say, if you have that many struggles, then maybe God's trying to tell you that you shouldn't be doing this. And I'm so glad I didn't listen to that. And because when I think about today as a parent, because I wasn't a parent when I started this business, but think about that as a parent, even like, especially parents of teenagers, you have struggles with your teenagers sometimes, and some people don't, but I would venture to say most people go through seasons of struggles with their teenagers. So does that mean that if it's too hard, I should find another place for my teenager to live and stop parenting that teen? No, I mean, maybe if it's too hard, then God's teaching me a lesson. I'm growing through this. I'm going to become better. Maybe he wants to see, how bad do you want this to really work? I read recently in a book that sometimes we wait for doors to be open, but I do think that sometimes God just wants us to knock some doors down.
Yeah.
And he's going, if you knock this door down, it's yours. And so I think the advice that, if it's too hard, then maybe it's not meant to be, or everything would be falling into place. And so I think that was another one. And actually one piece of advice that I was given that, and I really think probably one of the biggest regrets that I have in my career is a season of life that I went through in my business. And thank God it was short-lived. It was the concept of at all costs, sacrifice all things so that you can make this work. And I think that there was a season in my life when I traveled too much, I was on the phone too much, I worked too many hours, and gave up too much. And I just thank God for godly people in my life who spoke life into me and helped me get back on track, get back to the balance that I needed in this life. Because you know what? At the end of the day, you can be the most successful person in your company, but if you're not respected by your own family, or if you don't have a close relationship with your spouse and your children because you gave up too much time with them, nothing is worth that. And so I think building a business with balance, I always teach people, if you borrow time away from your family, pay it back. So if you have to be gone for a trip, which anybody who owns a business has to do that
Sure.
sometimes,
Yeah.
then come home and give time to your family. That's undivided attention, not with your phone, not half-heartedly, but all the way. So I don't know, maybe those two
Those,
pieces of advice are
I
the
would say this
ones.
way, those are great examples of bad advice. Those are the
Yeah,
best examples of the worst advice.
yeah.
And I've had that happen because, you and your family have been to our lake retreat and spent time there. And I spend a lot of time there during the summer, and some people would be tempted to go, well, Keith, you take all this time off and, you go gallivant the lake when you could be, changing people's lives. If you're so passionate about changing people's lives, then why would you spend so much time at the lake in the summer? Well, what they're only seeing is my summer months. They're not seeing my other 9 months. So I'm doing exactly what you just said. Hey, you know what? I borrowed some time from my family maybe during the off season, and I was traveling or on the road or speaking or working. And then I exchange that time back with them as we create memories together at our lake place and have the kids grow up and get to play like I did when I was a kid on the lake and the fish and the boating and everything else. I mean, my son, my oldest son Daniel, we just got him a little metal fishing boat, like one of those really old fishing boats. I got it on Craigslist for I think it was $200, but we're gonna have the best time. And I have a small fleet of boats, but we're gonna have so much fun with that little metal boat because we're just giving that time back to my family. It's not worth it to me. It's not worth it to me to grow other people's lives if I can't grow my own with my wife, her and I's relationship, and then also pass what God's given me as gifts onto my now 4 children into their lives. And so
Absolutely.
I think that's huge of you to say that. Those are great examples. And I definitely agree with the first one you said too. If it gets too tough, it can't be God's will. That is simply hogwash. I agree with you 100% because I believe that the bigger the battle, the bigger the reward.
Oh, yeah.
And so
And there was no one. Go ahead. Go ahead.
I was going to say, I've always said this, when it hits the fan, if it hits the fan in your life, you can absolutely check the box that you are going in the right direction.
Right. Absolutely. If you're not facing any struggles, you're not really going where you want to go because there will be struggles along the way. And I also believe that if you are somebody who has a strong desire to be a difference maker, to change the world, to help other people, the enemy does not want you to have power, influence, or money because he knows that you are going to make a huge dent in what he's trying to do. And you're going to leave a mark in this world and make things better for people, make the world a better place. And so if you are one of those people who have a strong desire to make a difference, you are going to face, I think, even greater attack against your journey to success because the enemy doesn't want you to get there. And you need to know it's all worth it because when you get to that other side and you are able to make a difference, obviously you can make a difference along the way. But if you really persist and you can become very successful in your business, in your career, then you're able to really do some amazing things in God's kingdom. And that's the best reward of this business is to watch lives be changed, to be able to play a small part in being God's hands and feet in this world. And that's the reward I live for now. That's what my family and I thrive on now. And it's a huge blessing and it's abundantly beyond all I could ever ask or imagine. I just wanted to be able to have money for extra plane tickets to go see my family in Brazil.
I was going to say, you're probably living that same life as a reward as that person who put that $200 in the envelope and honestly got, and now you get to walk in that. And
yes.
As we're wrapping this, and I know your heart for contribution, how important is contribution to success?
I mean, Keith, I think it's huge. And number one, I think that people, they don't need to wait until they're making a lot of money to give back. From the very beginning of your business, and I have taught the consultants that I've brought into this business to always give from part of their checks, even if it's $10 that they can give that month, to always give, but always also give of your time, any other resources that you have. It doesn't have to just be financial, but to have that mentality of contribution, of giving back. To me, there's no significance without contribution. It's just success. And to me, that's how you transition from success to significance, is when you live a life with a desire to give back, and your life is about contribution. And then as God continues to bless you on your journey, instead of just acquiring more, look for more ways to give, more ways to bless other people. And, and really, shame on you if it's all about you.
Sure.
Shame on you if it's about buying one more thing, or going on more vacations, or owning more homes. Not that there's anything wrong in those things per se, but our heart should be, for me today, I want to continue to work this business for two reasons. Number one, I want to help the people that are coming behind me get where they want, get to their until. And so I'm committed to them. And hey, I'm here for you. I'll guide you. I'll help you. I'll share my wisdom with you and help you wherever you want to go on this journey. So that's one of the reasons. It's my commitment to the people coming behind me. But the other one is, the more I travel the world, and my husband and I we have our part of our hearts is in Africa. And the more we go there, the more we see the needs that are there, and just how simple of a solution we have just with money. Like, if they can have money, they can build schools, they can build hospitals, they can go to school, and they can become difference makers in their country. We particularly go to Zambia, and so that's where my heart is. And so I want to continue to make good money so that I can continue to do things and see lives be changed in such an incredible way. And that is the biggest reward for me from this business. And we go as a family, which is an incredible way, I think, that our kids can learn as teenagers. Life is not about me. Part of my summer we spend serving, and you are so amazing to teach the concept of a life of service, serving others. That the greatest leader is the greatest servant. And so contribution is huge, because without a heart for contribution or for giving back, all you have is power, money, but no significance, because I believe that we were created to change lives and to make a difference. And if we're not living that, we're not living to the potential that God gave us.
I like that. I wrote this down while you were saying that. The secret to transitioning success into significance is serving.
Mm-hmm.
That's powerful.
Contribution.
Well, Cecilia, I cannot tell you how much I appreciate you taking the time to serve me, all the people that are watching tonight, our leadership community now that has thousands of members all over the world, and serving us with your time and your wisdom and your experience, because it was extremely valuable to even me personally. And I know it's going to be extremely valuable to all the people that watch tonight and will be watching the recording of this. So I just want to tell you how much I appreciate you and your husband, both personally and professionally. And I look forward to being able to hopefully serve you and your family and your business for many years to come. And I appreciate your relationship and what you do for our company, my family as well. And I just can't tell you how big of an honor it was for me to have you with us this evening. Thank you so much. And maybe we can do it again sometime.
Keith, I would love that. And I want to say thank you for all that you contribute to so many people from your heart of service. What Mentorfish is doing for people is incredible. It's invaluable. The principles that people are learning through that are things that most people never learn in their entire lives. And so thank you for choosing the path to make a difference in people's lives. And so it's really an honor to be on this call with you, and an honor to serve, and I would do it again anytime. So I really appreciate you inviting me. Thank you.
You're so welcome. All of you that are watching tonight, I appreciate you being here with us. You know, this is the kind of things that we do in Mentorfish. We provide the top-notch level of training and content and people and examples of successes of these principles, so you can learn and take this form of mentorship into your own life. So if you saw value in this tonight, go to mentorfish.com and check it out. That's what it's all about. Teaching and training the people in the principles of life that will help you walk into your greatness and live lives of true abundance. So we appreciate you being with us tonight. If you're a guest, thank you for joining with us as well, and we look forward to speaking with you again soon. God bless all of you.